Hi everybody, Arabelle Alva Rosales here with Pivoting in Heels. So I'm really excited because we are going to bring to you this incredible interview. You know, we interview women that have made these great pivots in their life because we want to share them with you. And so you're going to get to hear from Kelly A. Tomblin, who is the CEO of Intren. It's a utility company, and she has been a leader in the utility industry for over 25 years. So she's the CEO at Intren now and really has done incredible work. And you're going to get to find out a little bit about her background, her past, how she started coming from a small town and how she's become this amazing leader, both in the industry, always improving herself and always looking to improve others' lives. So it's a real treat. I hope you tune in and make sure that you watch. So a couple of books. Her first book, 100 Days of Doing Power Differently. So, you know, make sure that you try to get it if you can. And then the other one, which is Think, Love, Leadership. So this is her most recent book. Again, she looks at power, but combines love in there. So a lot to learn from both of these and a lot to learn from her. So please tune in. We look forward to you watching and being a part of Pivoting in Heels. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media. So here's another opportunity for you to get to hear Kelly Tomblin in person. So she's going to be at the National Latino Education Institute dinner, which is June 11th. We're putting a link below so that you can go to it. But also, if you go to Eventbrite, again, it's June 11th, which is Tuesday, you can get tickets there. So if you want to hear her in person, again, she's incredible. You'll get to hear a little bit of it here, but she will be the keynote speaker. And good luck to NLEI with their dinner, and we're wishing you the best of luck. Great organization, works to develop workforce in the Latino community. And to my good friend Alba, wishing you the best. Hi everybody. So I'm really excited because I've got this incredible guest that's here today at Pivoting in Heels, Kelly A. Tomblin. I'm so excited that you're here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are all over the world, or have been all over the world, and have been a true leader in the business world, especially in the utility industry. But before we get into all that, because one of the things that we really try to do here is talk about some of the major pivots that have gotten you here. And when you tell your story, it's pretty amazing. Apart from it, you've just written a book very recently that we'll get to toward the end of it. And that has a different twist, I think, at the way of looking at power, which I'm going to definitely, have you touch on. But I'd like to talk a little bit about your background, because you've had all these accolades, right? And you're voted the top CEO for this, the top woman for this. Jamaica, you're a known leader there. You're a known leader here in Chicago. All of the things that you've done, your background. When you started, did you have a vision? You were born and raised in West Virginia, right?
Right.
And tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about your family. And did you start with a vision of, I'm going to be this incredible woman, I'm going to have this incredible future? Or is this something that as life developed, you've had it develop for yourself? And tell us how you've done that.
Sure. I'll try not to be so long, because after 50, that's a long story. But I would say, of course, but I had no vision. I grew up in a town where no one went to college. Everyone was either a coal miner. If you're not a coal miner, you worked either at the hospital or clinic or at the schools.
So you were like the coal miner's daughter?
I was completely. I sing it all the time. In fact, they asked me to sing it. I was proud, and I am still proud to be a coal miner's daughter. My grandfather was a coal miner. He worked in the coal mines with one arm, which he got shot off. And another story. We lived, and I grew up in a company town. There used to be towns when you had a coal mining job that you were paid half in script. I owe my soul to the company store. It's because you were paid in script, and you could.
And she's got a good voice too on top of it.
Only use that script at the company store. So definitely, my vision was really survival. There's a lot of domestic violence in my town, and women weren't economically independent. And my mother was always concerned because she got married at a very early age. And she
You said
wa-
16?
she-
Right, 16,
16, 17,
Okay.
when she had me, and my father didn't go to high school. My mother went back to high school and graduated. She went back to college when she was 40, graduated when she was 50. But
That's a major pivot.
it was a
That's
major pivot.
Yeah.
But she always told me a couple things that really I had no evidence to believe it, but she said it over and over. You can do anything you want, number one. Never to be dependent on anybody for food, kind of. And number three was basically, if you don't make straight A's, you can't do anything else. You can't be a cheerleader, the stuff I cared about, which I think is important because I didn't have the foresight or the vision to care about anything. I was brought up in an era where the only thing that mattered was what boy liked you. And if a boy didn't like you, especially a popular boy, the captain of something, you weren't really valid. And if you weren't a cheerleader, you weren't valued, or majorette or something, right?
And so much was dependent on who you married or
Of
who you were
course.
going out with or who the
course.
boyfriend was, right?
And that really plays a game on your head, and I think it still does.
Unfortunately, it still does. We were talking a little bit about this,
Right.
but unfortunately, there's still a lot of young women or women in general that's how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
But you got those straight A's, right?
Right.
And you were able to, which was in the back of your head all the time, and you were able to get some things done, get into things that you wanted
Sure.
to get. You were still getting those. I know you were talking a little bit about when you got into college.
Mhm.
You got the head of the football team. You know that you were still dating.
I think I really liked him, God rest his soul. But I do think, even though that I said I was valedictorian, president of my class, head of this, all of that, I still felt like I wasn't just not worthy. And I don't know if I really recognized that then, but I went to college. I first started at VPI, and then I went to UK, and I ended up at West Virginia. And I changed my major from electrical engineering to journalism through that process. But I always had that yearning, like, am I going to be okay? Is somebody going to love me important? And I think that really de-escalated my interest in college. And I think it really did, again, play a game on me. But I was able, because I was, the overarching theme of my mother's admonition was make sure you can feed yourself, basically, because that means you don't have to get beat up. It's simple as that. So it wasn't a great motivator, uplifting motivator, but it was a motivator.
Right. Well, and I think it's interesting to hear that you're being so successful at so many things, because it sounded like through college and you were starting to position yourself, but you hadn't found the love for yourself yet.
No. I think we're still working on that.
We're always
Every
working
day.
on that,
You know,
right?
now that you get older, you have to do a whole nother game. I got too many wrinkles. I think the funny thing for women is this age thing. You're too young forever, and you're too old forever. There's this really narrow band for a woman's power, and I think it's like 38 to 42. After that, you're too old, and before that, you're too young for true power. So I think that's another game society plays on our head.
I think that's what some people think, right? But we say at Pivoting in Heels that
Right.
you can pivot at any age.
Any age.
We're powerful because many times we do it in heels.
Right.
And you're an example that you've been doing this successful thing without you even maybe really knowing that you were doing it or what you were doing, but you've been doing it almost innately. And it sounds to me like one of the major pivots that happened to you really came from your mom. From that, she helped put that little voice in you that, there was no option but success,
Well-
and that in the end you were able to take care of yourself no matter what.
Well, I think what it is not to define a path. I think I didn't get so wedded to a path. I started out after school. I was a DJ. I worked in the newspaper, and that wasn't paying me money. So I taught school in 7th grade. I didn't make artificial limits, and I still don't.
Love that.
I worked at a Ponderosa. I was manager for Ponderosa because it paid more than the teacher at the time. I didn't judge myself. And then when I went to law school, I didn't get all heady about being a lawyer. It was another job. And when I went to law school, and that wasn't after I got in working in a big law firm, I knew that wasn't really fulfilling me. I went to work at in-house, and I had to move to Johnstown, Pennsylvania from Pittsburgh, which was all cool. I lived in downtown Pittsburgh, which is a lovely city. But I'd never been to Pittsburgh when I moved there, and I'd never been to Johnstown. But I think this is...
So you've got your JD, you've got your MBA, you've got all of these.
Right.
One of the things I know that you mentioned that I loved is that you can be put any place and you have no fear because you know that at the end of the day, if you have to depend on yourself and if you have to wait tables to make money and to
Right.
get through stuff, you have the capacity to do that. You know that. You know that you can fall back
Right.
on yourself and do the things that you have to do to get through.
And I do, and I think there's a great joy in having at one point in your life been broke or not had a lot of money, because you learn or you develop a muscle around resiliency. And one of my favorite books is the book about grit. And a lot of research has been done about when they look at people who have made it, however you define it, or are successful, however you define it. It's this idea of being gritty and being resilient, and I think that's been important. I do think another important thing is when you do get to know successful people, CEOs, athletes, whatever it is. You know, my boyfriend played for the Miami Dolphins, and then I knew corporate icons. You start to realize we're all just bozos on the bus, and it takes away this whole fear of you're not good enough, even though we all still struggle with it, because you start to realize very early on that in the purest form, we all are just figuring it out every day. It's not anybody's got a lock on it. So it frees you a little bit to say, oh, you're just like me, because you don't have it figured out either.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I found really interesting, tell us a little bit about how you got from West Virginia and then you went to New York, right? Well, you went through college and you got all these degrees. And then you're in New York, and then all of a sudden you get offered something in Jamaica.
Right.
And you have two kids at the time,
Yes, I
right?
did. Well,
yeah.
I think that's another thing. When you grow up in a little tiny town where you knew everybody, and then you move to Lexington, Kentucky, and then you move up to Morgantown, you move to Pittsburgh, you move to Johnstown, you move to Reading, then you move to New Jersey, then you move to New York.
Flexibility, so flexibility is part of the whole.
And you go, I always say from believe it or not, my town was the Man High Hillbillies to Manhattan. I thought, that's a book, right? From Man to Manhattan. I do think that, I was overwhelmed because I still don't know fashion. I had a funny accent, and they strongly encouraged, which I took accent reduction lessons. So you're getting messages every day in Manhattan that you're not good enough, smart enough, whatever. But once you get over that, when somebody calls and says, listen, we have an opportunity in Jamaica, you've kind of said, okay, if you can if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And when I went to Kingston, Jamaica, everyone thought, oh my God, you're going to get murdered, your kids are going to get murdered. Obviously, my kids are not obviously, they're very blonde, so they do stick out in Jamaica. But you know what I learned from that? And that was a pivoting point in my life, that love can make your heart break open. And Jamaicans were unbelievable to me. And so it really changed my mind about so many things, because we think we're so separate and different. And at the end of the day, when we moved to Kingston, Jamaica with my 7-year-old and my 14-year-old, and they went to Jamaican schools, I learned again and again.
Now, were you a single mom at that time?
No. My husband was with me. I was a single mom at one point.
Okay.
But I find over and over that we're all so much more the same than we are different. And that frees you, too, to pivot. Because you know that it looks different over there, it looks scary over there, but it's probably a lot like it is here. People ask me, what did you do in Jamaica? I said, well, I went to the movies on Friday, I went to soccer games, I went to much the same thing as I did everywhere else.
Right, yeah, and people loved you.
Well, I think they grew to love me. I think when I first went there, let's face it, no one in Jamaica was this color, Caucasian. They were Jamaican. I was a woman, and I was American. So I was not a Jamaican, but I think the great message I would give to anybody in pivoting is humility. Be vulnerable, admit what you don't know, have the courage and the self-confidence to say, I'm sorry, I don't know, please help me. I think we as women, and I was taught, in the 80s, kick butt, take names, and I used to lead like that, and it did not result in the result was not good for them or for me. So I think once your heart gets in the game a little bit, that you're able to pivot more because you have more freedom to say, I'm lost here. So I think that gives you more opportunity.
Yeah. You're not and you can't be afraid to make mistakes. I mean, you're going to make them, right? You have to go through the fear of being embarrassed. Forget the embarrassment. Get to the things that you have to do, right? Don't worry about that.
I could speak all day on that, because if you're not afraid if you're afraid to fail or look stupid or be stupid, you're done. I watch women all the time, and I've had really great bosses who push me on this. we'll be in a meeting and men will be like, every day, here, see me. Women raise their hand like this, like,
Yes.
maybe I have something to say. Because we're afraid of being wrong or looking stupid.
Right.
Now get over that. We're all stupid.
Get over it. Get over it.
We're all bozos on the bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.